All right, my friends, I'm here with another podcast with one of my favorite people on the planet, one of my favorite people in our field. I'm here with the Michelle Gellis, and we're going to talk about all the things. I'm going to ask Michelle to share with us how she got into her specialty and maybe some more things that you didn't know about Michelle. I'd like to start it with the story of how I met Michelle, and then I'm going to bring her on. It is an awesome story and one that's funny and kind of sets the stage. 2 years ago, I decided I was going to do a summit called the Radiant Aging Summit. And I knew Michelle Gellis was like, a big star in this field of cosmetic acupuncture. And so I was on Facebook one morning and I sent her a private message and I said, "Hi, I'm doing this summit. Please call me. This is my phone number." And then I went on and reached out to a couple other thought leaders in our field. And all of a sudden, I got a phone call and it said Michelle Gellis. And I thought, that's weird. So I picked up my phone and said, "Hello." She said, "Hello." And I said, "How did you get my number?" And she said, "You gave it to me." And that started our friendship. I said, "Oh, you're right. Hi, nice to meet you." Anyway, we have been laughing ever since. And I am so grateful for our connection because we've done collaborations together. She's been on the summit twice. We've gone hiking and so much more. She's so lovely. And so I want to bring Michelle Gellis out and have her share how she got into Chinese medicine and then ultimately her specialty of facial acupuncture and microneedling and all of the many things. Hi, Michelle. Good to see
Hi.
you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's wonderful to see you and your big smile. And it certainly has been great getting to know you. And your enthusiasm is so contagious. It can be very isolating, being a practitioner and author, and even as a teacher. We can spend a lot of time by ourselves, and having the opportunity to spend time with you has been great. So,
So much fun.
to answer your question about how I got involved in acupuncture, my youngest child, who's now 20, almost 26, when he was born, he had a condition with his eyes. He's legally blind, and his eyes moved involuntarily. It's called nystagmus. And I didn't know much about acupuncture, but went to the good old-fashioned library because there really wasn't an internet back then, if you can imagine, and read in the British Journal of Ophthalmology that acupuncture could help with neurological conditions pertaining to the eyes. So when he was just 12 weeks old, I took him for acupuncture, and it helped him tremendously. And so when I was getting back into the workforce, when he was about a year old, I decided to switch careers from my background was as a computer programmer, and I worked in IT. I did training for IBM and AT&T, and I just put all that by the wayside and started acupuncture school. So when I was still a student during the last year I was in school, I was working as a TA. I helped check points in clinic, and assistant taught. And by the time I graduated, I was offered a job as like a number two in clinic, and to do some teaching because I had a teaching background. And I ended up teaching at the Maryland University for integrative health for over 20 years. And during that time, I got very interested in cosmetic acupuncture, which a lot of people were not practicing, most practitioners hadn't heard of. So I started taking some classes, and then my students at what used to be, it used to be MUIH used to be TAI, the Thai Sophia Institute. My students there started asking me to teach them about cosmetic acupuncture. And so I started, it just kind of organically started, and I started teaching them. And then I outgrew my little small space at home, and I started getting offers to teach at some acupuncture schools around the country, and started traveling internationally and teaching.
Wow. And you still are doing all of those things. When was that when you started teaching cosmetic acupuncture?
I think my very first class was in 2006, maybe 2005. Again, I taught out of the basement of my home. I had a large uh, lower level of my home that I just set tables up and was teaching down there for a couple of years. And then I was ready to hit the road after a while because I was getting invitations to teach in various places. And so I moved. I moved out of Maryland. It'll be 3 years in February, and I was offered a position on the doctoral faculty at Yosan University in Los Angeles. So I am adjunct faculty there as well.
Oh my gosh. I love how this organically came to you. I always feel like that's how our callings come to us. Like we think we're going after them, but I think they come to us. That's why it's called a calling. We just have to pick up the phone and answer. And so I also love that you have been a leader in this, a pioneer in cosmetic acupuncture, microneedling for sure. And since 2005, and all of that knowledge, experience, and expertise has now been compiled into a book. And I hope I'm not spilling the beans too soon, but I know that you and I, over this last couple months ago during symposium, you were putting the finishing touches on your book. And I really want to talk about that as well, because that's exciting. It is nearly 20 years of your work in a huge textbook that people can use in their practice. So tell me a little bit about like, how is that crazy project? That's huge.
So the I started the book around 2016, 2017. I got a lot of encouragement. I had already written several journal articles for them in the Journal of Chinese Medicine, which had been published. And so I had the beginnings of the foundation of some decent literary work, along with all of the classes that I teach, which range from cosmetic acupuncture to treating neuromuscular facial conditions like Bell's palsy. I also teach classes on facial cupping and gua sha and microneedling and red light therapy. And so there was this tremendous amount of written and spoken lectures over many, many years. And I was teaching a class, and one of my students showed up with handouts from my recorded lectures that she had watched all my lectures, and they filled up 2 binders this big. And I I asked her, I said, "What is that on your desk?" She said, "This is all yours." So, because my concern was that I wouldn't have enough to fill a book. And when I actually saw it, no, of course, some of them were, big images, but when I saw it, I realized that, yeah, I've got enough for a book. And I got a lot of encouragement from Lonnie Jarrett, who has written 3 books like books on Chinese medicine. And my goal in writing this book was to have it be unique. There's plenty of, well, there's a few books out there on cosmetic acupuncture, and some of them will touch on a couple of things. Some of them just touch on like the needles. And so what I was really looking for was something that really pulled together my 5-element background, because I am a 5-element acupuncturist. So all that rich heritage and learning of being able to use the face as a diagnostic tool, and a lot of the different things that we do that are unique, like clearing blocks and how we feel pulses, and a lot of that information, looking for color and listening to sound, and how to pull all of that together and synthesize it into a treatment and make it accessible to anyone, even if you don't have a 5-element background. So the book covers everything I teach, including safety and ethics, and it's done, it's written, and Lonnie Jarrett is doing the first level of edits, and right behind him, I have a professional editor, I have a graphic artist, I've got a page setter. So it's all being put together as we speak. And really, my work, for the most part, my work is done. I'm just going through and reading everything one last time, and I'm hoping that by this summer it'll be on the shelves. It's been a long road, and tremendous amount of work. It's going to be, it's hard to say. It depends on how big the images end up being, but it'll be probably around 700 pages. So it's going to be a big book. And I'm going to be, once the editor is finished, I'm going to start taking pre-orders probably late spring.
Okay. So I love that. If somebody wants to be on the wait list for those pre-orders, do they go to your facialacupunctureclasses.com website for that?
Yes.
Okay.
And we're going to be starting pre-orders, like I said, in the spring, but they can either fill out the contact us button,
Mhm.
or hopefully by the end of this week, midweek, my webmaster will have a separate place where people can just go directly for that. But for right now, they can just go to contact us.
Okay. And did you come up with the name? Did you finalize? I know you and I were talking about it.
Well, I may be running a little contest for a free copy of the book, because I have 3 different titles in mind, and I'm very indecisive, so I could always use a little help on that.
Yeah, maybe a poll. So one thing that there's so many things I love about you. One is you're so engaged with students and people in our field, like so super engaged. So you have your Facebook pages, you're on Instagram. So I imagine you'll probably put out maybe a poll or a survey on those social platforms, and maybe even your email list.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. So
And your Facebook group, it's called Facial Acupuncture, right?
yep, and there's over 8,000 acupuncturists in the group, right?
Which is almost on par with acupuncturists on Facebook. Like you almost have as many in your group as like overall acupuncture, which just is a testimony to your work And this is what I'm trying to share with everybody watching this. Like, you engage with people. They can go on those groups and ask a question and you will answer it. Not your AI robot, not somebody you've hired.
No.
Like, you are so engaged and so dedicated to our field that I love that this book is coming out. I'm so excited. And you have been doing this for nearly 2 decades in terms of teaching and sharing. And I would love if you can think of some stories to share with us. I know you shared funny ones when you were in Australia. Like, I know you can cuss more in other countries. Like, we have more freedom to say what we want to say in other countries. But what are some funny things that come to your mind just from, all the years of teaching and demonstrating and lecturing? You're just at symposium, you're part of the face group, like all those things. Anything stand out?
Well, I had an experience one time where the way I teach my classes now, unless I'm um, unless I'm teaching for an organization that asks that I do it otherwise, the way that I teach now is all of my lectures that pertain to that class are recorded, and I show up, I do a review, and then the students have 2 days to practice. And so the students get a lot of hands-on time. They get the review, they see the demos live, and then they can practice because normally the way I used to teach, I would have 1 day of lecture, 1 day of practice, and then the third day was a combination of lecture and practice with cupping and gua sha and advanced techniques. And you get to hear the lecture one time and then you're thrown into practicing. And for a lot of students, they felt like it went by too fast and they really didn't get to embody it. So that said, and for individuals who take my classes, they get a copy of all the lectures and the demos so they can watch it over and over and over again. But the way I used to teach was, again, 1 day of lecture and the second day was practice. And I don't even know how many years ago, probably 12 years ago, I was teaching I was in California somewhere. I want to say LA, but I don't remember. And I got a phone call from a medical doctor who also was licensed in acupuncture. And he wanted to know if he and his colleague could take my class. And I said, yes, but you missed all the lecture. So you'll have to watch, because it was already like halfway through the first day. I said, you'll have to watch the lecture if you want to practice tomorrow. So they showed up on the second day and I said, did you watch the lecture? And they said, no. And so I said, well, you can't practice because you're not going to know what to do. Now, obviously, I can't physically stop them from practicing, and they were bound and determined they were going to practice. So the two of them sat across from each other with the notes that they had, just the handouts, and they were putting needles in each other's faces while they were sitting in chairs because we didn't have a table for them. And they're sitting there with in the most I got a picture, and because it was so funny, they just had random needles all over their faces. So that was a pretty funny story, I think. Another one that comes up more often than I'd like, and more often as I get older, is when I teach, I make a lot of references to movies and TV shows because of the characters. And when I was teaching in London, my assistant, who I adore, Alan Longcroft, if you're listening, I'm talking about you. I had a couple of assistants, but Alan had patiently waited for me to come. I was supposed to teach in 2020 and it got canceled because of the pandemic. And then I was supposed to teach again in 21 and I still couldn't because the country, London, still hadn't opened up. And I finally made it out this year. And so what's happening as I'm getting older is my movie and TV references are becoming less recognizable. I'll talk about, an actor or a singer, and my students who are younger and younger as I'm getting older and older. I'm 62 years old, so I'm making references from the 60s and the 70s, and they don't know what I'm talking about. But when I was in London, whenever Alan would try to do his American accent and try to sound like an American, he sounded like John Wayne. And I said to him, Alan, you're so funny. I said this in front of the whole class. I said, you sound like John Wayne. And I looked around and I realized no one in the class had any idea who John Wayne was. And it kind of freaked me out a little bit because, being an American, John Wayne is like as American as they come. But now they did know Clint Eastwood though. So I think it was an age thing, not just well, I thought, well, maybe it's a Western thing, but yeah. So those are a couple of funny stories. One having to do with the needles and other just how funny it can be, just traveling and going to different places and different customs. And oh, Alan also told me I couldn't say, I had told him when we had spoke, since I live in Florida, it's warm here all the time. And I said to him, well, I haven't worn pants in a long time. And he said, well, you can't say that because in London, pants are underwear. So so catching up on your culture is important too when you're traveling internationally.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I made a reference to Jaws once, and one of my students said, I'm too young for Jaws. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I feel that one. I also feel the different cultures. I taught a class once, and I had a translator in Japan, in Japanese. So I would deliver my content and my jokes, and then I'd have to wait for the translator to deliver it, and then wait to see if they thought it was funny. And it was one of the most painful courses I've ever taught in my life, just that waiting and waiting. I want to switch gears a little bit, and I want to talk about Morty.
Oh
And
God.
well, here's why, because like Morty provides a lot of MIE, motivation, inspiration, encouragement for people. And for those of you that are like, who the hell's Morty? Go to Facebook, befriend Michelle Gellis, and she has these sayings from Morty. And that was another thing. Before we had ever met, once I knew you were a celebrity. I was like, I want to meet her one day. So I just did. I just picked up the phone. Well, I picked up the email, the Facebook, and look at us now. But also, I love, and I still do love your Morty saying. So share a little bit about Morty. How did that come about? And if you haven't seen Morty, get on there and just look at all of her Morty posts. They're hilarious.
So Morty, sorry, I was drinking coffee and I got like a coffee ground in my throat. Okay. So you don't have to be friends with me on Facebook to see Morty because all of the Morty posts are public. So, and you could just look up my name and you'll see them. So when I moved into this house that I live in, there's a body of water outside, and alligators live in the pond outside the window of my house. And for the most part, they just swim around. Occasionally they'll go up onto the grass. But I became quite smitten with the wildlife here. The birds, the alligators, armadillos, not things that I grew up with growing up in the Northeast. And I was at a art fair in downtown Sarasota, and a photographer had a giant, like 9-foot photograph of an alligator. And it was very unique though, because when you look at it, you're seeing the reflection onto the water at eye level of the alligator. And it was very expensive, and I didn't need something quite that large. So I went home and I went on the internet trying to find something similar, and I couldn't. And days I looked, and I finally broke down and I called the gallery where he has his photos. And I said, okay, first, I don't want a 9-foot, I want something smaller. And he said he could make it any size. And I said, second of all, I spent so much time looking. I said, why are there no other images like that? He said he got in the water to take the picture, and that is why the picture is so unique. And once I brought it home, I hung it, Morty, well, he wasn't named Morty, but I hung him over my TV, and I wanted to name him. And so on the TV screen that's right underneath him, I wrote, help me name the alligator. And that was kind of how the whole idea of writing things on the TV screen under him started. A lot of names came through, and while I was going through them, I looked up at this alligator and I realized he was very inspirational. And my dad had died when I was very young. I was 24 years old, and my dad's name was Morty. So I said, that's it. That's what I'm going to call him. And some of the quotes from Morty are actual real quotes from real people. Some of them are things my dad used to say. Some of them are just funny things that happen to be going on. I don't remember what he said today. Oh, I know what it was. Last night I was in the car and I looked up, and as I do every time I see the moon, I was like, oh my God, look at the moon. And so Morty's quote today said something to the effect of, oh my God, look at the moon. And then underneath, uh, that's what I say. It doesn't matter what phase the moon is in. So sometimes things just come to me, and sometimes I borrow them from colleagues. So
I'm reading one right now. It says, instead of giving presents this year, I've decided to give everyone my opinion. So, what is your opinion on a path to happiness?
um,
Surprise!
a path to happiness. Happiness is happiness is different for every single person, right? I'm learning that. I live in a community now with people from all over the country, and it's like a gated community, and we spend a lot of time together. So I'm getting to know a lot of people fairly well, kind of like college or summer camp, where you're living with people and you really are getting to know them pretty well over 3 years. And for some people, being happy is, partying all the time. And for some people, what makes them the most happy is spending time with their kids and grandkids. And for others, it's pickleball. So I think it's really just finding that place where it, you lose all sense of time, where you're not looking at your phone or looking at your watch. For me, what brings me the most happiness is my teaching and my writing. So my work, um, because I get to see like the fruits of my labor. And unlike my children that I love dearly and my grandchildren who I enjoy spending time with, um, the I have this illusion that I can control my work, and that's important to me. Like I can do it as much or as little as I want, and usually it doesn't ask anything of me. I just give and I get back anyway. So work for me is my greatest joy. So, but for others, I live in a retirement community. 99% of these people are retired. They don't understand why I want to keep working, and I don't understand how you can play pickleball all day long and mahjong and you know those are thing that to me that would just be like sprinkles on the cake, whereas my work, my life's work is the cake. So
Yep. I know that. I've seen it and I've been in your community and it is awesome. And there is a lot of pickleball and there is a lot of people spending time together and it's lovely. And I am still sad to say I did not have a Morty sighting despite every morning going out there looking for him. Never saw him. So that means I'm coming back. And I do want to come back to, and I love that your your path to happiness, how you agree with me that everybody's unique and it's up to them to decide what it is for them and then go all in on it. If it's pickleball, then pickleball it up. um you love to teach, you love to be out there and presenting, and so 2024 is 2 weeks away. What do we have besides the big book launch? What do we have for Michelle Gellis in 2024? I know you're coming back to California in March. I hope to see you then. But can you share where you're going to be in the next 6 months, 12 months?
yeah, so uh I'm scheduled 6 months out. I need to on my long to-do list is figuring out where I'll be in the fall. But I have a class in Hollywood, Florida, which is very close to Miami, and it's right on the beach in a Marriott in Hollywood Beach, and that'll be a 2-day cosmetic acupuncture class. After that, I'm going to Sydney, Australia, and then Melbourne, and then in no particular order, I'll be in Los Angeles, I'll be in Vancouver, BC, Boulder, and I feel like there's one other place that I've forgotten. Oh, I'm going to be in Palm Desert.
Palm Desert. That's one in March,
Yeah,
right? March,
yeah.
April timeframe.
And I'm doing a master class there for, it's going to be a small master class for individuals who've already taken my hands-on training. And for those who haven't, I'm going to make some provisions as long as they can get up to speed, they can come. But we're going to do a real deep dive into treatment planning, case studies, some techniques that I just don't teach otherwise, probably bring out my red light, and definitely everyone will get a chance to do some microneedling, and there'll be a lot of surprises and it'll be a lot of fun.
So fun. And so they sign up for that or get wind of when that is going to be, registrations at your website, www.facialacupunctureclasses.com. I will put that in the description of this talk. And stay tuned for all of the things. I know your micro needling pen also had a facelift, pun intended. It's this beautiful champagne color now. Oh my gosh, love it. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. So where they find that at aculifskincare.com.
Yes. Yep.
You
We
also
call
do a
it,
lot
and
of,
it's actually on sale right now.
ooh, good to
Through the
know.
year, 15% off, which doesn't sound like a lot, but these are, professional medical grade microneedle pens. And I only have a few of the turquoise ones left, and I'm selling those at 25% off. I
Wow.
think there's like 4 left, so I don't know when this is going to air. But anyway, all the information is on my website, and I only sell them to health professionals who are licensed to do microneedling, not to the general public. I do have products like derma rollers and facial cupping sets for sale to the general public on aculifskincare.com also. But for health professionals, you can open a free wholesale account, become a wholesale partner, and you can purchase products wholesale.
Awesome. And you have serums. I know the one that you did last year was called Harrigan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That goes with the microneedle pen, or you can even use it with the derma roller, or you don't even have to needle it in. You can just massage it in. And I have vitamin C, hyaluronic acid, collagen serum, and all of the products are vegan and organic, and they're all made in small batches they're physician formulated, and I don't have a lot of different lotions and potions on purpose, but I've been using my own products on my skin for about 10 years now. So
And I've used them and they are fabulous. They are so perfect. They feel so good on the skin. And you are a walking advertisement for your work because you're gorgeous inside and out. So, and I know a lot of people see that. They're like, I want to look like her. I'm coming to her classes. So let's leave everybody with that. We've given them so much. And I hope that they got a little bit of a sneak peek into you and who you are, because I've been privileged to get that sneaker peek into who you are and how lovely and what you're out there to share, and that your classes are still here and you got tons of them coming up in 2024. But more importantly, you have this big book coming out, and just that's going to be a huge manual for people to take their practice to the next level. So much to share. So that's it for us right now, my friends. Now, Michelle and I have done collaborations in the past, and I'm pretty sure we'll do collaborations in the future. So stay tuned for that. All of the ways of getting in touch with us will be in the notes to this video, and it will be launching. This video will launch before Christmas and the holidays of 2023 going into 2024. So I want to wish you all fabulous holidays, much love, much success, especially going into 2024. And Michelle, last words of wisdom for everybody?
Be careful out there.
And I will be careful out there. And I'm sure that will be a Morty sign pretty soon. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, my friends. Until we see you again, bye for now.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.